Mike, we've already talked about this offline. I know you're chomping at the bit. I don't have no monologue. I don't have no question. I'm just gonna let you rip
On.
on Charlie Kirk.
Oh, gosh, I didn't know we were going to talk about that today.
Right.
I'm kidding. So I got a lot of thoughts on this. This is a big deal. Okay, this is a big deal in America, and the reason it's a big deal is not because of what Charlie Kirk represented or believed in. It's what occurred, why it occurred, and the response to what happened. And let me explain that for a second. So Charlie Kirk, for those of you that don't know him, and there maybe I was actually surprised at watching the media for the last day how many people actually do know who he is. So I didn't realize he was as quote as famous as he is. I would see him occasionally. He'd pop up largely because Phil, you and I do the podcast, so this kind of stuff pops up in your news feed, right? And I'm scanning through TikTok, and occasionally Charlie Kirk would pop up. And I'm not, I don't really have that much of opinion on the guy, to be honest with you. I'd listen to a few of his video or a few of the videos that he's involved in, and it was always, this is what I saw. This is just my take on him. He was obviously extremely well spoken. I just watched an interview actually he did with Bill Maher today. And Bill Maher, for that matter, is very well spoken, and they're two very intelligent guys speaking, right? That obviously don't agree with each other. But what I liked about what I like about Bill Maher and what I kind of liked about Charlie Kirk was that they could have a rational conversation without swearing and yelling and calling people names and all the rest of the stuff. And discuss ideas. I mean, Charlie Kirk's role in life, I guess, was to go to college campuses and try to swing the youth vote towards a very right Christian MAGA belief, right? I mean, I think we could probably all agree that he was one of the reasons that Donald Trump won the presidency and was able to get some of this youth vote was probably because of Charlie Kirk. Now, I'm not saying I agree with some of his stuff. And for those of you that have been listening for me long enough, know that I'm not religious. I think he's way too right of center for my liking. However, the response that I saw after this occurred was mind staggering. And here's the difference. I saw a lot of liberals come up and say, "Hey, you know, how come this same reaction didn't occur, I don't know, a month or two ago when the woman got shot and killed in Minnesota, I think, the representative?" Well, I'm going to tell you why. Because she was not as famous. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but that's not they're making this into a Democrat Republican thing, and the reality is that it's just simply like nobody ever heard of her. A lot of people heard of Charlie Kirk, so it's just a bit more of a news story, and I think that's why it's being talked about more. The problem is that, and I'm going to give you one more example. She was an elected official. She was a lawmaker, somebody that is responsible for setting the laws of the United States of America, right? As a she happened to be a representative of Minnesota, but she's a state lawmaker. Those people are elected by us, and they're by the very definition of being elected, they can make change. And I'm never going to justify killing somebody, but I can certainly see killing somebody if you strongly disagree with their belief when they're going to make changes. Charlie Kirk wasn't elected to anything. He had no power to do anything. He's simply stating his viewpoint. So whether you agree with him, disagree with him, or somewhere in the middle, he can't make change, right? He's not an elected guy. He's simply trying to sway public opinion. That's called freedom of speech. Anybody's allowed to do that. And I think where we've made a turning point here is, and to go back to what you were just saying, Phil, about elected officials, particularly the mayor of Chicago, getting security. I hate to say it, we're in a situation where anybody and everybody that is either an elected official, an influencer, in Charlie Kirk's case, he's a famous podcaster. Basically, that's what he's known for. And I got to tell you, Phil, I don't know if you got any of this, but I had five different people reach out to me and say, "Hey, maybe you and Phil should cool it because you get too big and you get too famous, they're going to be shooting at you next." And I mean, it sounds stupid, but the reality is that that's pretty much all Charlie Kirk did was be a famous podcaster.
Well said, Mike. The only part that I disagree with is where you juxtaposed the lady who was she was a public servant who could affect things versus Charlie Kirk who couldn't affect things.
Well,
I would venture to say that specifically those two people, if I were to compare their effectiveness on things and change, his was extremely higher than hers, and she actually got the ability to vote on things. He literally had an uh he has had he's changed and swayed voters, which has allowed more than one person to be voted in and affect change. So I think
agreed.
that is
I agree.
totally
Yeah.
not true. I think
Well, it's
so.
legally
If
true, Phil. It's
let me
legally
finish,
true.
I let you go, Mike. Um, so the making the point of like he's less if you made the point of basically if you were going to go down that road it would be someone who actually affects you. So in my eyes, using your logic, he would be the more logical person to be attacked because he definitely has more effect. He's the things I just explained, and you had the president just yesterday send out a thing saying he was one of his greatest allies. If you follow politics and not just modern politics, but throughout history, different governments or whatever, oftentimes the actual king, queen, dictator, or whatever is not the person truly making changes and affecting things. It's his parliament, it's his advisors, it's his courtiers. So to just totally eradicate that part, I don't accept that part. Now
Oh,
the
I'm not.
well, you specifically said
Well,
like
yes,
I,
but I meant from a legal standpoint. I mean, but using that same example, Phil, we, you and I can affect change too. Anybody that has a voice that's being listened to.
but not the same, Mike. We're talking about a person who has the backing of the party, the backing of
Yes.
people in high office. He's has access to events to speak.
Well,
It ain't close to the.
he's one of the most powerful people in the quote MAGA movement.
Yeah,
I'm not denying that. I was just using it as an example where you can't compare the two of them together. I mean
I just did.
yeah, but that comparison well, but the Democrats are using that as a comparison why nobody talked about her. Well, you just proved why they didn't talk about her because he's way bigger.
Well, again, using just everything we've said so far, the reason why his story was bigger is come on, Mike. They pick and choose the one that's either the best story. So, like you said, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
more people know who he is. It's a hotter thing. We got
Mm-hmm.
all of this video of it. That has a lot to do with it
Mm-hmm.
too. They got video they haven't even shown you yet. That's another reason. And the party that's in power now, he was
Mm-hmm.
aligned with them, and this is a great tool. It's a
Oh,
great.
I think it's another thing. Let's talk about going forward. This makes the Trump party way stronger, way stronger.
And that's the only point that I have about this is that the hateful, despicable, disgusting, low people who had something to do with this and people who think it's right, after all is said and done, if you think that you've eliminated him from speaking an ideology that goes against something that you think or believe, you made him he's going to be historically probably one of the biggest martyrs in the first 25 years of this century. He's going to be
Oh,
one
for
of the
sure.
he's going to be like 25 years from now when we'll be at 2050, right? And there're going to be all kind of historical shows and lists made about the top 10 figures and the biggest stories, and he's going to be one of the top 10 stories of this century.
Yep.
So you didn't even achieve what you call yourself trying to do by eliminating him. You've literally propagated it. You've literally made it like times a million, times a billion.
Well,
So
because two things happen here.
you're a piece of shit, and what you're doing didn't work.
Yeah, and like I said, yes, agreed. Because two things are happening here, Phil. One is that he's becoming a martyr, and but probably even more significantly is that it bringing out they're falling for it. The people that are quote anti him, whatever category you choose to call them or put them in, are showing ugliness, and ugliness is always going to lose. And we saw that just in the first 24 hours on social media. There were literally people that were like posting videos that were excited that he got shot, and all this nonsense from some of these people with big followings. Look at the guy on MSNBC got fired last night. When he got shot before they knew he even was dead, had posted negative stuff about him. Even MSNBC couldn't take it. So
Like the do you remember Tom and Jerry and
the
the
cartoon,
Road Runner? Yeah.
yeah.
And the Road Runner. Those cartoons had a hard time making it to television back in the day because there was a majority who felt like there was too much violence in in those cartoons and that kids couldn't handle it and stuff like that. We have slowly chipped away decade by decade on what the bar is for what's violent, what our eyes can handle, what we emote about. And we have reached a point, and we reached that point way back in the 90s, where now death is talked about like it's not even death. Uh the awe of it, the respect of it, everything about death has been totally desensitized. And I find it very disgusting.
Well, I tell you what, I was this happened by accident yesterday, but I was outside because we were having a really bad thunderstorm here, and I came in. I happened to click on my phone and see if I had any messages, and TikTok popped up, and I saw a video that was taken down moments later, but I saw the original video that was posted of him getting shot. And this was about an hour and a half, 2 hours before they announced that he had died. Uh, when I watched that video, I can assure you that he was dead. Because the original video that I saw was up close. He got hit, and I mean, to say that blood shot out the side of his neck was a gross understatement.
It looked
We're
like
talking
something from Kill
gallons.
Bill.
Yeah, exactly. It looked like a Kill Bill, like a cartoon, and there was zero question in my mind that that guy was dead immediately,
Hmm.
and it took him about 2 hours to announce it, but that got taken down very quickly, that video. But it goes to what you're saying, Phil. I mean, we are so numb to this at this point, and there were a couple comments that I saw online. It's like, yeah, what you saw, and what his wife, unfortunately, his wife and child were sitting about 15 feet away
Wow.
from him. And somebody posted, with all due respect, I agree with you on this, that this is unfortunately what children see in a school when their friends get shot.
Hmm.
And this is a real problem. And obviously every time something like this happens, we get into the gun debate, we get into right versus left, we get into the politics, who's inciting violence, we get into all this nonsense. But as you know, nothing happens. There's never a solution. And this is where we've ended up. So, I sent you a text yesterday. I mean, I hate to say this out loud, but, and I know I was not like, I'm not looking to come back to America right now. I'm being completely honest there. I feel bad for you guys in the United States right now because it's a fucking shitstorm.
Well,
And
look, go ahead.
no, I mean, I don't know what to say, but like, it's not a pleasant place. I mean, you've got, I know this is controversial to say, but like, look, and I said this, and I'll monitor it down a little bit, but like, until you get the right wing religious whack jobs, and get them out of quote mainstream government or mainstream influencing. And likewise, you get the transgender loving fucknuts on the other side. You're fucked. I mean, these two sides are both really wrong, like really wrong.
We're going to look back at this time where it was the Puritans versus Sodom and Gomorrah,
Yeah,
and nothing in between. And the
yeah.
majority of the people are in between.
And
My,
that's my point. Like you got most people are caught in between this. Unfortunately, you've got based on my social media this morning. I'm gonna, you know what, Phil? I think next week I'm gonna start calling out names on the podcast.
no,
I'm
don't do
actually,
that.
yeah, I'm gonna put names in there because I defriended a bunch of people on Instagram and Facebook this morning like that posted things. And by the way, I defriend people if I hear you talking nonsense, and even if I agree with it. I like anybody that spouts. If you go to anybody's social media page and 89 to 95% of their page is politics, they're fucked up. There's something mentally deranged and wrong with you. There's just something wrong with you.
So let's get in.
Fundamentally wrong with you. Okay.
So
And
let,
I'm going to start calling them out. I'm going to put their names on our podcast and it's going to go out to 75,000 people. And you know what? Good for you. You can be like the baseball woman. But like what I'm getting at here is these are these are the mainstream middle people get involved in the argument.
Mhm.
Okay. So you've got, the people I'm not gonna say his name right now, but there's one guy I defriended. That's all he posts is political bullshit on his Facebook. He's not a politician. He's not part of one side or the other that far. He's got beliefs that agree with the one side, but he's just spouting and respouting shit that he hears. All he's doing is reposting. I mean, I'm sure you have these people in your life too. They just repost stuff that somebody else said. And it isn't accomplishing anything. It obviously contributes to incitement of violence and incitement of making people angry and getting animated because anybody that's on the other side. See, I'm a weirdo. I get animated and angry even when I'm on your side because I'm just like, stop. You're not helping anything here. Like, even if I agree with you, I don't want to hear it because you're not changing anybody's opinion. You just simply are not. Like, nobody on Facebook has ever gone, oh, geez, I hated Donald Trump, but now, I think I'm going to like him now. You got a point there. No, nobody's doing that. Phil, you're right. You see, you got me all riled up here.
Mike,
I'm calling people out, though.
we got mass shootings, school shootings, and now a shooting at Evergreen High School in Colorado that left one dead, two others injured.
Same
along with
day.
the kill. Correct. Along with the killing of right-wing conservative influencer Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University, have once again forced America to confront its mental health crisis. We don't have insane asylums anymore. Mental health care is limited, and the answer for most people is a prescription bottle. What happened to just calling someone crazy and treating them accordingly? Mike, is this bigger picture about left versus right, guns, or is it really about the state of mental health in our society? Because
This is
this is going on every week, bro.
this is totally mental health. This has got nothing to do with guns. I mean, look, America has a problem with mental health. You can argue America has a problem with guns too, but the reality is without the mental health problem, guns are guns, right? I mean, I have guns, I own guns. I'm not shooting anybody. So, I mean, that isn't the problem. The problem is that, and by the way, if you look at most of these crimes that are being committed, the guns are being acquired legally. They're in many cases they're going through checks and background checks and whatnot. So obviously this is there are systems in place to prevent some of this. It's not working because of this mental health thing. But I would argue that a lot of the mental health comes from this very vocal. I would have called it a vocal minority, but I'm almost wanting to call it a vocal majority at this point. A lot of mental health comes from listening to social media. I mean, I spent, after the Charlie Kirk thing, I spent an hour, scrolling through my social media, and you'll get people on both sides spouting hate.
So, Mike,
Hate.
I think it's mental health too, but I have a very politically incorrect thought process about it.
Okay.
You know, the way the politics are run now, if you say anything about mental health, then you're either all the way on the left and you're all into therapy and drugs
Hmm.
and all of that, or
Covering the problem.
you're all the way on the right where you're totally against all of that.
Hmm.
And this is where I'm coming from, Mike. When I was growing up, and you may have had this experience too, you had a buddy who had a little brother or a little sister that you heard about and that you'd see sometimes, but you were never allowed to interact with. They were kept in the house or they were
Hmm.
kept on the farm or whatever the case
Yeah.
may
Weirdos.
be. There was a time that when you were in school, in a very short period of time, if you had accumulated a certain amount of F's and non-passing grades, and you showed that on Iowa basic test scores and stuff like that, you had low comprehension skills or like that, all of a sudden you were in a completely different classroom, if not another school. Mike, there was a time where when people did certain things that were illogical, but you knew the person was a functioning human being, we just simply said that person is crazy.
Hmm.
We have walked away from words like crazy, retarded, mentally incapable, uh, all of these type of words.
Hmm.
What I'm getting to is we used to have a time where if you showed that you weren't at a certain mental maturity and ability, you were called out of the group.
Yep.
And we were allowed to be safe and we were allowed to progress now. But the typical person now, whether it's their neighbor or somebody in a cubicle next to them, that person may be that crazy person that used to not you'd never see or have to interact with. That person has with the new modern medicine, they've been prescribed things for their behaviors and things like that, but they're still a crazy person. We have a lot of crazy people amongst us, and that's a new thing. And when I say a new thing, I'm talking about in the last maybe 30 years. And I think that's, I think it's a mental issue, but not just where we need to take care of these people. Yes, we need to take care of these people, but they need to not, the effort to integrate them into our society is sounds good. It's a beautiful thing, but it's a safety issue. Because all of these killings week after week after week after week, I don't care if you believe in their ideologies or not. The idea that I'm going to take your life for it, that's a crazy person. That's an insane person. All of this violence, the attacking a police officer for doing his job, that's a crazy person. Uh Joining a gang and rampaging a city, that's a crazy person. We need to bring back crazy and insane asylums. What say thee?
I mean, unfortunately, this is to bring up Star Trek. This is like the opposite of Spock here. It's the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many. That's the way that our society has moved towards, and particularly on the left, I think that's their motto, right? So we've got to society has to revolve around the need of one. If there's one person that needs to be pulled up, we have to sacrifice everybody for that. And that's completely opposite of like the theory of evolution from Darwin. I mean, it should work the other way around. So what we're doing is we're catering to every single issue, every single human, every single person that you just deem to be potentially crazy or should be an insane asylum, God forbid. What if? There's that big, the left in particular likes to use this. What if we could rehabilitate that person? What if, you know, we can't give up on that one,
I don't
I
think you
don't
should
want to.
give up on them. I don't think I'm not saying go back to the old way of an insane asylum and lock them up basically and abuse them. That's why we don't have them anymore basically because
Yeah, of
that's what would
course.
happen. But I'm saying separate them, keep them in a
hmm
safe environment and, and attempt to rehabilitate them.
Phil, we
Treat
couldn't
them.
even do that. We couldn't even do that during COVID. Think about this. We could not even take the people that were at risk and potentially would be affected by the COVID virus and put them a separate and put them in a restrictive area to make sure they were safe. What did we have to do? We had to put the entire world in it. So this is the problem. This is a fundamentally I think it's a fundamentally American thing at this point where like you said, it's become virtually illegal to say somebody is mentally deranged or handicapped in some way, or God forbid, you can't. I mean,
Every time there's some kind of shooting at a job where the guy shoots up everybody, they talk to the workers and oftentimes they were like, yeah, he was different. Yeah, we
yeah,
knew something was wrong. Some people were worried. Sometimes they even fired the guy because they thought that he would shoot up the place, and he did when he came back.
yep. But barely nobody opened up their mouth because everybody's afraid to say anything because it's not politically correct,
Hmm.
and that's scary scenario. So where are we today? Let's analyze where we've ended up. We've just ended up with, by your own admission, one of the leading people in the Donald Trump MAGA world got assassinated. And if you don't think that that's going to change politics in America going forward, if you're listening to this podcast, you are out of your mind because that is going to be a significant turning point. And not to use the pun, that was his name of his organization, Turning Point, right? But it's a turning point in a sense that I think either one of two things is going to happen. it's going to get even worse. What you and I just talked about for the last 10 minutes, it's going to get even worse, or we're going to somehow reflect and make some significant changes.
I think it's gonna get worse.
I agree. I don't. Nobody's willing. Yeah, because nobody's willing. Look, shit. People aren't even willing to have a dialogue on Facebook. So if you think they're going to have a dialogue in Congress, or you think they're going to have a dialogue, look. All I saw yesterday as an example of this was how Charlie Kirk was. What were the words used? I mean, I copied some of them down. You know, they were polarizing and
It
blah
was.
blah 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 and all this stuff. Well, I tend to disagree a little bit. I mean, polarizing is a strong is he didn't do it in a flagrant in your face way. He was a very, if you listen to him, he's super
Your style
calm.
has nothing to do with being polarizing.
What's that?
Your style has nothing to do with being
Well,
polarizing.
he wasn't. I guess what I'm trying to get at is he wasn't bombastic. He was. Look, I can see people saying that about Trump more. Trump is in your face, right? The guy is in your face, says some crazy shit. Charlie Kirk might say crazy shit, but he made it sound less crazy, I guess is the best way I could say it.
But
He tried to give, and in some cases, some of it was bullshit, but he tried to give realistic data behind what he said. Okay.
I, let me be clear. I'm not saying he wasn't articulate. I wasn't saying that he wasn't good at debate. I'm not even getting into whether he's on the right side or the wrong side of any issue or whatever.
Hmm.
But by definition, he wasn't like almost polarizing. He is the definition. Polarizing means to cause something, especially something that contains different peoples or opinions, to divide into two completely opposing groups. He's polarizing by definition. Trump is polarizing. Biden is polarizing. Barack is
Well, okay, but
polarizing.
isn't that the problem at this point? Who's not polarizing?
Well, all my
Name
point,
somebody that's not polarizing.
I agree with that, but you're saying like they misnomered him, and I
Well,
think
no,
that's
I'm
on the
not saying.
money.
I'm not. I get why people on, say, the politically left or progressive movement would not like Charlie Kirk. Okay, I'm not stupid. I understand why they wouldn't like him. What
So
he
it's
backs, what he supports.
polarizing.
Okay, okay, I'll go with you on that. But there's a difference between. So I'm reading some of the things that people wrote
Yeah, that
online.
I feel like, and I understand, and I empathize and sympathize with you. I understand you're looking at the hate given to
Yes.
him, and you are, because of that hate, you're like looking at actual truths and
Well,
just
well, no. There's a difference
because it can be
between.
both.
Well, hold on, but
They
there's
are.
a but Phil, there's a difference between spewing hate for the sake of spewing it and what he was doing. Like at
I
least,
agree.
yeah, and that's the problem. So there's two. I'm putting people into two different categories here. So I agree. So Donald Trump is polar. Let's go with that. Donald Trump's polarizing. Uh, Alexandria Cortez, Ocasio Cortez is polarizing, right? They're on
Absolutely.
opposite sides, but they're not spewing pure hate necessarily. Whereas somebody that's hit their visceral response to Donald Trump is he's a fucking orange man. He's a rapist. He's a child raper. That's spewing hate. Okay,
I
that's not the
agree.
same thing. And likewise on the AOC thing, or we talked about the Talib person in Minnesota or wherever, who you and I both came out and said basically we feel like she's a foreign. She's this shy of being a foreign terrorist. I mean, she came from whatever, Afghanistan and or Ethiopia, wherever the hell she came from. She's barely American. So, but even she's not spewing hate. The
I
people that
agree.
are having a response to her are like, I want to kill her because she's a Muslim. Okay, that's spewing hate. There's a difference.
I believe that what we're discussing, two things can be happening at the same time.
Hmm.
These can be totally despicable people saying and doing despicable things, but that does not mean that Charlie Kirk was just this divine person,
Oh no, for sure. I agree with that. Absolutely not.
because that's something I want to get into is um I think that there's going to be a changing of how events and protests go at colleges. I'm thinking you're going to see an immediate change where people who are polarizing, no matter what side they're on, if they are a polarizing figure, they won't be invited to campuses. I think that it'll be hard to ensure events now with people who are considered polarizing figures.
I mean, I
Uh,
heard somewhere that they had a total of 6 police officers stationed to that event, which seems ludicrously under security, right? I mean, with the amount of people that were there, that seems crazy to me. You got to realize that he was on a campus, and he tends to, and a lot of these guys, and he's not the only one, by the way. A lot of these guys that go to these campuses tend to go to campuses that are heavily skewed in their favor. So you got to realize he was in Utah on an extremely religious campus, anyways, where
That's
there
why they
were,
had only 6 police, because they thought
yeah,
everything was good.
probably true. You
But
know,
something about that, even Mike, you're exactly right. Some of them do strategically pick locations where the populace is for them.
yeah.
I agree with that. But I watch a lot of these.
Mm-hmm.
The majority do the complete opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
the whole game plan.
Yep.
I'm a right wing person, and I'm going to go to this liberal event
Mm.
and ask people questions about
Yeah.
Trump
Oh, yeah. You see it on
or
social media all the time.
yeah.
Yep.
So I'm trying not to go down this road because I have a respect for the dead. But
Mm-hmm.
he was part of that machine of where they went to places to prick the bear.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was debate. Yes, he was calm, but he part of the strategy because he's also a content creator.
Oh, yeah. That, by the way, just so people understand that, that was his number one thing in life was he's a content creator, first and foremost a podcaster and a content creator in the social media YouTube world. So you have to see that as the backing here. So that's where his and by the way, his wife has a podcast as well. So they that family is very much, and she went to, I can go on and on. She went to Liberty University and all this stuff. I mean, these are Liberty University is so far right that it's barely
Mhm.
on planet Earth. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
I mean,
I understand, bro. Charlie Kirk is from Chicago. I know. Like I said, I'm not here to disparage the man. The
yeah,
man should not have lost his life.
right.
And there are very few things where, in my mind, I'm okay with the outcome of the person being dead.
Mm-hmm.
It's in certain self-defense, and not
Mm-hmm.
all, certain self-defense. And that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, taking a shot from 200 yards away is it's a kill shot. I mean, that's no bueno, no matter what. I get it,
Oh,
and I agree with you, Phil. By the way, he his purpose was to stir the pot. Okay,
absolutely.
which is very much like any successful YouTuber, quite frankly, or podcaster for that matter. He's not much different than, say, a Joe Rogan.
I
I
agree.
mean, he's really not. I mean, that's how you get an audience. We don't look, we don't sit here on the random waypoints to talk about, how many games of ping pong we played earlier today, and that we're going to go have some afternoon tea together because you guys would tune us the fuck out immediately. You want to hear us say something that you can take back take back to your living room and go, man, that guy Phil, he fucking crazy. Did you hear what he just said? I mean, come on.
Mike,
Let's just
for
be
some reason
honest.
they say that about me whether I'm talking or not.
I know. That's right. I mean, and I get it. To go back to what I addressed before, where people legitimately, people that listen to this podcast, reached out to me and say, "Hey, are you guys worried at all?" And I try to explain. I mean, I guess to some extent, no matter how big or small you are, the fact of life today is that all of us need to worry to some extent about everything. I may be no different than the guy I was just talking about that was spewing what I'm going to consider to be hatred on Facebook. Eventually, somebody is going to get pissed off enough at that guy, and he's not a podcaster and he's not a social media guy, but somebody is going to read his shit similar to me today and go, "This guy's fucked up. I'm going to go take him out." And that, by the way, I hate to say it, is reality. So for me to think that, because I just, 3 weeks ago I said that it was the fault of every, I probably said, I don't know how, maybe I shouldn't say it again. What were we talking about? The ugly white women. Um, I mean, probably one of them's going to knock me off. But but the reality is I mean, I'm joking about this, but there's some truth to it no matter what. And in his case, I would agree. Let's go back to Charlie Kirk. If you gave me a list 2 weeks ago of if you asked me who are the 5 people in the United States I think have the most chance of being assassinated, I probably would have put him on the list. I mean,
Okay,
he'd
yeah,
probably
I
be
agree
on the
with that.
list.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I would have had him like somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, probably
He
not
wouldn't have
number
been at the
one,
top, but he definitely wouldn't have been at the bottom.
Right. So what all that speaks to really is what we've talked about as a theme on this podcast a lot. The power of words and social media in particular, particularly if you're a creator, is is strong. And you said it best in your argument against me, Phil. The reason that it matters so much about the Charlie Kirk thing is because he was so powerful and way more famous and way more divisive than that woman in Minnesota that I don't even know what her name is. And there's a reason for that. So, the moral of the story is the bigger you get, the more danger you're in. I mean, look, number one on my list would be Donald Trump, right? There's nobody in the world that I could think of that you'd want to get assassinated more than Donald Trump. I mean, I'm sure
Oh,
there's a zillion people out there that want to do that, right?
and that's probably heightened times a billion since yesterday.
I agree. I agree
He's the
because
person
now he
need
just became even
150
stronger.
security.
Yeah.
So, Mike, check this out. I believe that mainstream media is going to change, and yesterday forced it to change. Charlie Kirk's assassination showed us two worlds colliding: the cautious coverage of traditional media that chose not to air the shooting itself, and the unfiltered reality of social media, where millions instantly watched graphic videos from every angle. Mike, has the gatekeeping power of news outlets been completely broken by platforms like X, TikTok, and YouTube?
Yep. I got almost all of my information yesterday from Chris Cuomo. What's the girl, the blonde chick that used to be on Fox News? Um,
I
who
watched
else?
her. I know
Yeah,
you
all
talking
those.
about.
Yeah, I can't remember her name, basically, I got my news from TikTok, X, online podcast, Joe Rogan, all these people that absolutely. And yeah, we saw every angle, every bullet shot, every stuff. I mean, before they said anything, I had already seen the guy standing on the roof. I saw a video of a guy on the roof. Like no, the mainstream media, CNN, Fox News, way behind the story.
And for people who don't know how media works, especially mainstream media. I'm talking about across the board. Whatever you see on celestial TV, they don't. It's not like in the olden days where people had those clicker boxes and say, "I watched this and I watched that." They know in detail your actions on social media. So what they're seeing is that people tuned in to CNN, ABC, CBS, and 10 seconds later are clicking away going to somewhere else because they're not getting what they want and they
Hmm.
got it from somewhere else.
By the
And
way,
it's
that's so using me as an example, when I came in from outside yesterday, I looked at my phone and the very first thing I saw was a graphic video of Charlie Kirk getting shot with blood shooting out the side of his neck. And I immediately, because this is me, I immediately was like, oh shit, that must be AI. So what did I do? I clicked on CNN because I wanted to confirm this because I was like, come on, I don't that must be fake. And CNN hadn't run shit yet. It wasn't even on their front page. And I clicked around a little bit. I went on to X, and then it said, "Yep, Charlie Kirk's been shot, condition unknown." So I was like, "Oh shit, he got shot." And then I was debating whether or not is that video I saw, was that him getting shot? Because if it is, he's dead. And if it's not, if it was AI, then maybe it was AI. But I'm like, could anybody come up with AI that fast? And I'm like, so anyways, it turns out it was a real video. But that goes to show you the mainstream media's days, in my opinion, completely over. Because I wanted to tune in to listen to Chris Cuomo or all those guys. Because look, they can talk like we can talk. They speak uncensored. They don't have to wait for some eight guys in their news studio to give the okay thumbs up that you can now say this and get it confirmed by 17 different camera angles and all the rest of the stuff. They can just do it.
well,
And
well,
that's what you saw.
even the people that you're mentioning though, they are kind of what I call retreads
Yeah,
of
a little bit.
media. What I'm referring to is like, for instance, with me yesterday, I ended up listening to a guy who did like a 4 hour live during the event.
Yep.
He was originally just covering the
Yep.
event,
Yep.
and it turned into all of
Yep.
that. And it flipped into like bigger news because of obviously what happened. And then he just went on and was like, "Hey, I have a buddy that used to work in the FBI. He got him on there." Then he was like, "Hey, I got another buddy." And this is just a regular dude.
Yep.
And he was literally talking about whether this was an assassination, was it a pro shot? And he had everything broken down that it took them 24 hours to do. And this was
Yep.
just a Joe Smo.
Yep. And that was similar to what I saw because that the initial video that I saw was taken by an Arizona, like a small town newspaper that was actually there in the front row filming it exactly what you just described, the whole thing, just being there to film the whole thing and happened to stumble upon this.
Yeah, because a piece of footage that they've shown a million times, but I haven't heard nobody comment on it. But I heard it commented by a YouTuber like 5 minutes after it happened. People were running out and they were trying to go out this exit, and then there was police saying no, no,
Yep.
no, 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 because they were trying to shuffle Charlie Kirk
Yep.
out.
Yep.
Kirk already had the sheet on
Yep.
top of him.
Yeah, he was covered. He was dead.
But and so and he said the guy on YouTube did just what you said. Oh, he's definitely dead. They've got him,
Hmm.
covered up over his head. But it was hours later
Oh,
before
hours. Yeah.
before they confirmed him being dead.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're that I think, and that's just the reality of where we are today in society. That we talk about it all the time. The future is amateurs, for lack of better terms. I mean, it's people that are on scene wherever the scene might happen to be. And like you said, a lot of these people, you've got two layers of retreads, right? You've got the the former celebrities that used to be with the networks that now are on their own podcasts, their own little shows on X. They're kind of retreading without censorship, and then you've got the big networks that are just dinosaurs that are, with the whole kit and caboodle. But I saw yesterday, I don't know if this is being talked about today, but I saw way back right when it happened, somebody had suggested that the bullet actually bounced off of, he was wearing a bulletproof vest and deflected off his chest and then into his neck. Don't know. I don't know. I have not heard. I don't even know if that's in mainstream media right now. I don't know if that's the case or not. But
I don't think that happened, but if that turned out to be what happened, that sounds reasonable.
yeah, it'd be interesting to note if indeed he was wearing a bulletproof vest, though. That would be interesting from a psychological perspective, because then you start to wonder, okay, well, if he was wearing a bulletproof vest, how come there was only six cops there? And how come there was not better? How come there wasn't bulletproof? You know what I mean? Like, then you start wondering, like, huh?
It also makes me question how high this goes up, because
Hmm.
then that means this guy was an exceptional shooter. He knew the guy had on a vest and he knew to hit him right in that artery. Uh, and from everything that I'm seeing, he didn't wait to see did he get the shot off. This guy knew he got the shot off. He was like a pro, man. It was like watching a movie.
And it was one shot.
That's what I'm saying. It was like a movie. Bang, pack up, hit the road. They still haven't found him to this point.
Now I'm looking live here, and remember, you guys, we record on Thursday, but it says they've just delayed the news conference over.
Mike, you
They haven't said
frozen
that.
up.
They they.
Repeat
Whoops.
that. You froze up.
Oh, sorry. It says that I'm looking at it live here. It says delayed news conference, so maybe they found the guy. Rapid developments in the Charlie Kirk investigation. They did find the high-powered rifle that was used, and early reports from the non-mainstream media suggest that the bullets and gun were in great political statements. I'll leave it at that.
So,
Which, by the way, would be I would expect. I mean, who else would shoot him?
so Mike, again, we had the school shooting and we had Charlie Kirk. For weeks and weeks and weeks, I've been just rattling off to you mass shootings, and they ain't just regular mass shootings. They seem to always be directed toward power. Are you starting to see what I'm saying, or am I still crazy and a conspiracy theorist?
Oh, I see what you're seeing. I mean, this is, but the problem is it a conspiracy, or is it simply the state of America? I mean, I could tell you that it's the
Oh,
State of
I'm
the
only
Union
calling it
address.
a conspiracy theorist because, not to pat myself on the back, I be ahead of the curve on a lot of stuff, Mike. And until people catch up to the curve, I'm considered a conspiracy theorist.
That's true. I think you're onto something. That's what I would say.
And I told you that, you remember, I keep saying, I was like, there's going to be a tipping point. I believe this is that tipping point. I thought we were maybe we were going to make it to the end of the summer. Well, this is the end of the summer. Yeah,
It's the end of the summer. Well, think about this. Who think about this for 1 second, and then we can move on, I guess, and maybe we're probably at the end anyways. Um, he Charlie Kirk was largely um, speaking to the younger audience, younger generation. So this assassination has definitely woken up that generation, and what that means, we're going to find out. But it it I think that you could say before maybe they were sleeping on the job a little bit. They have that younger generation, is struggles with voter turnout and with, being involved just in general in society and voting and politics and whatnot. And obviously he was trying to change that. I think this probably is going to fire up likely both sides
so
in that generation.
I'm gonna say a bold statement, Mike. And some people aren't going to like the comparison that I'm about to make.
Okay.
I believe that this just made Charlie Kirk, this generation's, and I'm talking about white people,
Mhm.
this generation's Dr. Martin Luther King for white folks.
Could very well be. Yep. I can see the correlation there for sure.
He has enough sound bites and speeches that they don't have to edit or whatever,
Hmm.
that they can put out and they can totally, he's going to come out looking way better than he did when he was living.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
His
think,
name is basically eternal now.
yeah, and I do agree. I think he's going to become more popular because I think while he was alive, he was certainly, you could argue, less popular because of his polarizing view and everything. It's interesting being down here in
And just
Mexico.
quickly, Mike, because people will be like, I can't believe Black Phil had the nerve to say Martin Luther King. And just like I'm old enough to know that Martin Luther King at the time when he
w-
was living, everybody wasn't
wasn't super popular.
everybody act like it now, like everybody was on his
Right.
side, but
Right.
that's not true. And not even
That's right.
all Black folks.
That's right.
But amongst us, we all got to say that we was all.
Right. Yeah, but completely understand what you're saying. That's totally true. And by the way, I was actually surprised. Not that we're stuck on black white here or anything, but there was a big statement. One of the there were a lot. I was actually surprised how many people of color were involved and
Okay.
supporting Charlie Kirk. I was actually shocked by that.
I
One
wasn't
of the
at
first
all.
statements I saw come out, it's in front of me right here, was because I copied a bunch of stuff that people were making comments on and saying nasty things. One of the main guys came out really early yesterday was Lamar Jackson, quarterback for the Baltimore, was talking about it, and I was like, wow. I mean, wouldn't have called him a Charlie Kirk guy, but hey, what do I know?
I'm gonna say
Um,
some. I'm trying to get us canceled today, Mike. I'm trying to figure out something, but I'm about to speak for all Black people because we're a monolith. Uh, and I want to be specific. When I say Black people, it's
uh-huh.
different than what you mean by Black people. You just pretty much mean everybody that kind of has a certain color tone and may have DNA from Africa, whether they came here as an immigrant or whether they came here some other way. Okay, amongst us, Black people means me. It don't mean people who came from the Caribbean
Right, right, right.
or
Yeah,
immigrants or stuff like that. Black people want to move on. We want to get past our history.
yeah.
We want to move on. When you hear like different people in the media, commentators and stuff like that that look like me but aren't me, they're generally like, what's her name? Joy Reid.
Oh, Joy
Joy
Reid. Yeah,
Joy Reid is an immigrant.
yeah,
Uh, and on and on. If you go through all of the people who you are thinking that are Black that we as Black people don't consider Black,
yeah.
they're not from here. And they have, so it's not weird or unexpected to me because I know the mindset. The people who do talk like that, because there were some that were on social media, they're almost all not foundational Black Americans.
Hmm.
And if you're not familiar with that word, it's people who can trace their history back to the beginnings of this.
Yep.
Most of us are conservative, even if we are a Democrat. Most of us have always wanted the immigration shut down. Most of us are more conservative than white people.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree with that. I see that. Yep. Yeah. I was going to mention since I'm down in Mexico, this story actually got a lot of traction down here, more than I expected, and I was surprised at how many Mexicans. Maybe I shouldn't have been as surprised because Mexicans are extremely religious based and conservative. But there was a lot of Charlie Kirk support here in Mexico. So just want to mention that, just for
Mo
if everybody was thinking it was just a bunch of Bible Belt thumpers.
just like we look at other countries and show our respect, it's pretty much mutual. Upstanding citizens of their countries usually have upstanding morals, thoughts, and views about things. It that's one of the issues I have with America. We have allowed the worst of us, whether it's culturally, ideologically, or whatever, have too much power and too much say about things where it should just be obvious. Hey, that's the right thing to do. Let's do that. So it's
Hmm.
some things that no, there's no debate. This is bad. This is good. We should just do that.
Yeah, that's a
Mike,
fair
you got
statement.
anything else you want to say?
Man, there was a lot of stuff, but as usual, somehow we managed to get through over an hour of random waypoints. So what can I tell you guys?
All right, guys, you know what I'm going to say. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully we'll see you here or on the trail soon.